Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Eric Whiting, and I will be presenting to you my second feature for my class project for Engineering Software 1. I call it Keep Your Word. So again, overview, if you haven't seen this before, this application is a CMS application that uses Microsoft Word documents as articles and uses the directory structure as categories. So it's meant to kind of replicate a blog or maybe a newsletter or something like that. Um, so instead of using a big CMS like WordPress or Drupal or something, this is actually just Microsoft Word and directory structures that will allow you to do everything that you would normally do. The reason that this is needed is it's because it's more lightweight than a typical CMS, because a typical CMS has to do stuff like social media integration and SEO, search engine optimization, but this is designed more for like if you are in a company and you have a newsletter or something like that that your workers go to, something on an intranet or something, you don't have to worry about SEO or social media. So this is much more lightweight, and it allows people to use Microsoft Word instead of an online editor, because some people can still be afraid of things like that, even though the word editors in WordPress are still pretty simple. Some people might feel more comfortable with Word if they wanted to contribute to your blog. The feature that I will be demonstrating in this demonstration is the ability to render a website structure from folder paths. So basically, if you've ever been to a blog, you'll see that there's like categories, right? And you click on a category and it shows you the list of blog posts or articles that are part of that category. In this application, when you want to add a category, you just add a folder to the root directory, and anytime you want to add an article to that category, you just put the save a Word file into that folder. The original example I had for the requirements demonstration was this right here. The picture on the left is is how the directory structure would look in practice. So like on your file explorer, you would have root, and in this example blog, there's 4 categories: school, work, personal, and finances. And on the right, you see the picture of that menu being rendered from those categories or from those folders. And anytime you would click a menu link, it would show you all the blog posts that are within that category. So a high-level kind of technical overview of this feature. So the user, when he loads the homepage, there is a function that'll run every time the homepage is loaded or any page is loaded, because it's going to create that side menu where you can navigate the different categories. So when the page is loaded, there's a function that receives a request for HTML, and since this is a functional programming class, the functions are very granular. So the function that parses through the categories or the folders in the directory structure are it just returns an object. So in this case, we're asking the system to give us the HTML form of that object. So if you ever wanted to extend this to use some kind of directory structure for something else, you could, because there's already a function that will give you that data, the directory structure data, but there's also a function that turns that directory structure data into HTML, and this first function is what says, hey, I want that data in HTML form. So that request goes to the function that parses the directory structure and gets the name of the folders and files inside of it, and then sends that data to the function that actually turns it into HTML, which will turn it into this HTML string and be rendered onto the web page. And I'll show a demonstration later. The other kind of little subsystem, I guess you could say, is the functionality that turns the directory structure files into a list of articles in that category. So what'll happen is a user will click on a category and want to see a list of articles that are under that category, and that's what'll happen when, and that's what this bottom subsystem is demonstrating. So the request for a specific directory's content goes to a function, that function loads, and then it loads the data that's inside that directory, and then again returns it as HTML. And there's two missing lines on these documents, or on this picture, that both those object shapes should be going back to the computer. So on the back end, there's a function that sends a list of categories back to the user, and there's also a function that sends the list of articles within a category back to the user. And on the front end with Ajax, we have to get the menu on the page load that I was talking about earlier, and a request for articles within a category. And then the get full article from list is kind of an extension of the first feature, but it was necessary for this feature to be considered complete, and I'll explain here in a second when I do a demonstration. So I'm going to demonstrate now, okay? This time I do have Word, or I do have the application compiled. So this is what you see. This is the end product, and this list over here on the left, these are categories, okay? Anytime you click on a category, it's going to show you a list of posts that are within that category. So these categories don't have any real names. These are test 1, test 2, test 2, 1. This is to show that we can nest directories. So test 1 has one file called example blog post. Test 1 sub doesn't have anything. Test 2 has 2 different posts. 2.1 has 1, and I think 2.2, yeah, has none. Okay, so, and then, so there's all these, well, there's this one article inside of the test 1 subdirectory. If I click it, it just goes ahead and loads that article. There's not much difference between these articles. I pretty much just copied the file over and over to test things out. And I know this looks like a basic website right now, but this is but the functionality is hidden from the user. So let me show you what's going on here. So I'm in the root directory of Keep Your Word, and this is the home page. This is the first thing we see when we open, and this content is being rendered from this document. Okay, so, and you see here I have test 1 and test 2 as categories, and this is test 1 and test 2. Inside of test 1 I have test 1 sub, which is this. Inside of test 2 I have these two guys, and when I click on test 2, you see sample blog post number 2. That's the guys that are in here. And so the point of this is to kind of just make administering and creating a website easier. So for example, if I wanted to rename a category, I could call this, instead of test 2, I'm going to call it category 2. Okay? And, okay, so that kind of sucks. Alright, I'll give you a different example. The reason that didn't work is because since since it's loaded right now, it won't let me change this, but I do know that this will work. So let me show you this. I'm going to add a folder, call it category 3. Okay, and refresh, and category 3 shows up, right? So now there's nothing in category 3, but if I wanted to add, I'm just going to copy this file into category 3. If I wanted to add a article to category 3, I'll do it right here. and that's a bug I need to fix. So if you go to category 3 now, boom, there's that article we just put in. You click it, there's the content of that document. And another reason this is kind of useful is if I wanted to go ahead and change the content in here, I want to say keep your word and save it. Now if I go back, see the title is changed, the content has changed. So just to change your website, to change the stuff that's inside of it, all you have to do is copy and paste different things, or just you can add a document or add a category just by adding a folder. You can put all the documents in there. Since the folder structure is what do you say, independent of the application, you can do other file type functions against them. Like if you were a system admin and you had PowerShell or something and you wanted to rewrite you wanted to rename all these categories or something, that you could do that, and the page would still load it fine. I am a little embarrassed that this didn't work. Let me just try it again. Yeah, so it won't let me do that. So maybe it's not as robust as I thought. But you can add categories. You can delete categories. For some reason that works, but won't let you rename a category unless you, of course, this is running. If you stop it, then of course you can rename it. Recompile, get it to run again. It's going to take a few seconds to work, once I go over here and hit the refresh button, it's going to take a second. So as you can see, it's been renamed here. So that is something that needs to be addressed. I'm actually not really sure how to go about doing something like that. I think that's probably going to be a whole redesign in order to allow somebody to rename a category as it's running. Other than that though, everything else does seem to work pretty good. Yeah, there are a couple of bugs within this, and I of course would fix them if I were to ever deliver this as the actual somebody is paying or something. So let's go back to this. So that was the demonstration. If anybody has any questions, you can email me at erik.whiting88@gmail.com. It's Erik with a K. Let me know if you have any questions or any suggestions. Thank you.